Hello and welcome. I'm Johnny and you want to work with the hottest of hot tech. You want to work with Generative AI, so today we're gonna work with ChatGPT-4 and SvelteKit. On my live streams, we've been building an app which picks a random emoji every day, then asks a famous fictional character for a quote. Users may ask characters for content creation advice as well. You can ask Geralt how they'd make a TikTok about guide dog. Ask Spider-Man how they'd make a video game about taxi. Today we'll build a brand new next-gen Hello World app. The app will get the user's name from the URL, so we can easily share links to friends, and ask ChatGPT to greet that user on our behalf, as if ChatGPT were a principal software engineer who hates gatekeeping but loves mentoring, video games, and puns. And if you're thinking, Johnny, this isn't the industry-disrupting application of AI everyone is dreaming about, A, it is solving a real problem. Literally, no human can come up with puns about every possible existing and future name in the world. And my greetings gotta have unique puns. B, it does make for a cool calling card portfolio site, something you can proudly showcase for fun and profit. And C, as always, the main point of my videos is to teach and inspire. We will encounter quite a few SvelteKit, OpenAI, caching, and deployment intricacies building this together, so let's get to it. Our starting point is essentially the skeleton app we get by running the SvelteKit wizard, plus a couple of my classics. Tailwind setup, toggleable dark mode with CSS variables, a layout for a universal header and footer, but absolutely nothing related to OpenAI or ChatGPT. We'll be covering all of that functionality together so you can learn to do this yourself for your own work, your projects, your ideas. The idea here is to first make our greeting slightly custom, like "Hello there, Fernando," and then use AI to make it truly personalized based on how I'd greet a Fernando in the workplace. Like, "Hey there, phenomenal. I saw you deployed some phenomenal code with that latest PR. Keep it up." After we've deployed our code, we should be able to copy and paste a URL like "hello there /Fernando," send that to any Fernando around the world, and they can immediately open it up and see their unique greeting. But if we go to /Fernando on our local dev server now, we'll get a 404 not found error, since we have yet to define that route. We'll do that now. With SvelteKit, in order to define any route, we need to do something special in the source routes directory. Our homepage is right there at the root, but what we actually want is to capture the user's name as a route parameter. To do that, we need to create a directory with magic brackets. So, bracket, name, bracket, and put a magic plus page.svelte inside it. So let's drag and drop our homepage file there. Instantly /Fernando results, as well as /Johnny and literally any other path without further slashes. However, we're still not doing anything with that name param. For that, we need to create one more SvelteKit magic file, plus page.server.ts. This will run on the server and can load data we want our UI to use. For that, we need to export a load method, which satisfies the typed contract pageServerLoad our dev server has automatically created for us. Thanks to that contract, we can see that this method gets given an event object we can destructure, and we want to make use of its params. If all the TypeScript fluff hurts your eyes, here's the benefit. Thanks to the TypeScript boilerplate, we do know for sure that params has a name parameter, based on how we've named our directory. If we change the directory to bracket first name bracket, TypeScript will know and protect us from runtime errors. We will be using name for now, but I know I've spent tons of hours debugging things like that. Naming things is hard, and sometimes you do flip-flop between slug or title or date or whatever else. In any case, we want to use that name in the UI. In fact, let's have the server tell the UI the whole greeting. So, const greeting equals hello there, name, looking good. Let's return our greeting inside an object, so our load method returns greeting. And now our UI, our plus page.svelte, can have a script tag where we can export let data, type that with another automatically generated type, and we can see the data object has our greeting inside it. Let's render it inside our P element. Awesome! If we go to different routes, we can greet Johnny, Alison, Brian, but in our homepage, we'll now be getting a 404. This may be fine if you want to have a dedicated route for the homepage, but for us, we may make the name parameter optional by adding another pair of brackets in the directory. So bracket bracket, name bracket bracket. So now the page renders, but name is undefined, classic. To resolve that, we go back to our pluspage.server.ts, and tradition means we have to default name to Word.
This is the way.
This is the way. So we've got a fun little Hello World app ready to deploy. This is already the point where some bootcamps would give you a digital certificate and bid you adieu. But for us, this is where the fun begins. This is where we take it to the next level and bring in OpenAI. OpenAI is the company behind ChatGPT and DALL-E, and if you've seen some cool AI stuff recently, it's quite likely they were using ChatGPT or DALL-E behind the scenes. In order to get in on the trend and use their APIs ourselves, we need to create an account. It's worth noting, OpenAI does not offer a free tier for using their APIs, but does give new accounts $5 worth of tokens, which should allow us to experiment enough to add Generative AI in our CV. So, once we're signed up and logged in, we can go to platform, openai.com, account, API keys. One way to get there is by clicking our username on the top right for the drop-down menu, then view API keys. In this page, we wanna create new secret key. This is indeed secret, so never leak it. Never show it to anyone. If you ever even think you've leaked it, like I've just done by showing it now, immediately trash it so no one can use it. API keys are a common way to identify who is trying to use an API. Sometimes they are classified as public, and in those cases, it's fine if your app's visitors are able to find them, they won't be able to abuse them. Sometimes they are classified as secret, and you must never ever allow anyone else to find those. Secret API keys have more powerful privileges, like using up your tokens and money, closing your account, retrieving your billing details. So again, don't leak them. Don't be afraid of them though, neither. We do need to use one now, and the way we do that with SvelteKit for local development is by adding it to our .env file. Create your own .env if you don't have one already, and add OpenAI API key equals whatever you copied. This makes OpenAI API key available throughout our SvelteKit app as a secret environment variable, so we can now make authenticated calls to OpenAI. And as a final security measure against leaking our secret API key, we'll be adding our OpenAI.ts inside the lib/server directory. Lib/server is yet another SvelteKit magic name. SvelteKit ensures nothing in this directory can ever make it client-side. It cannot make it to our users. That's important because if user could see the request we make to OpenAI, they would be able to see our API key too, and we should never...
Alright, I get it!
Alright, so in this file, we want to write a new method, create chat completion. This corresponds to this section of the OpenAI API docs, which details how we can give ChatGPT prompts and get messages back. We need to hit this URL, which we're gonna do with a fetch call. So let's fetch api.openai.com v1 chat completions, and we also need some options. The method has to be post. And in order to authenticate, we also need some headers. We need a content type application JSON, and also we need an authorization, which will have a better token, our OpenAI API key. You can see how we import this with SvelteKit magic from $env static private. As it is indeed a private environment variable, we don't want to leak it, and static, we wouldn't change it without a fresh deployment. Alright, method and headers are sorted. Create chat completions also takes some parameters, so we need a body, and then we can stringify a JSON object. There are quite a few parameters you may want to tweak here, but for us now the defaults are fine, and the only two things we need to specify is the model string and the messages array. For the engine model, I do have better access to the latest and greatest, GPT-4, so that's what I'll be using. Maybe you'll need to use GPT 3.5 Turbo, maybe you're from the future and want to use GPT Order 66. Consult the docs if you're unsure what's available to you. For our messages array, we'll only be putting in one message at the moment. It's going to be a user message, role user, like what we type in the ChatGPT playground. So we can actually try out something here for free and see if we get a decent greeting back. As a user, we can type, "Please respond as if you just saw Johnny dropping by and you wanted to greet them. Make sure to include a pun." I love it. So that prompt should work. It can be our message content, but of course we don't want to hardcode the name. We have our method take a name string and use it in the template literal. And with that, our fetch request should be solid and we'll get a great response back. We can sanity check whether our response is indeed okay, or else throw an error. If it is okay, we can parse the JSON we get back. According to the docs, it's going to be an object like this, but this ain't GraphQL, so if we really want to TypeScript things up, we can write up our own type based on this example. Create a type guard is set completion. This receives who knows what, checks whether it's an object, and then, for simplicity's sake, whether it's got a choices array with at least one element, which should be an object with a message property, which should have a content property. If all of that is true, we're gonna say this JSON is indeed a chat completion. If all of this looks crazy, remember, you don't really need it, and it corresponds to this: choices, message, content. If we are indeed hitting this endpoint properly authenticated and with a legit model and a good prompt, this content will be the greeting we want. And this type guard lets TypeScript know that yes, we got the expected response back. So let's use our type guard. If our JSON is legit, we return the first of the choices, array index 0. We'll only be getting 1 anyway because n defaults to 1. We want its message content. Which brings us to the moment of truth. This file looks legit, our method looks excellent. Let's go back to our page.server.ts and use it. Where we have our mostly hard-coded greeting, like savages, we will instead await our create chat completion method, passing in the name, and if we save, ta-da! Fernando, consider yourself greeted. And let's hit me up too. Love it! You may now update your CVs. Next-gen AI integrations are go. I'm totally serious about this, and if a gatekeeping engineer tries to second-guess your experience, tell them, just a post request, innit? And to really impress them, let's dig in slightly deeper and use something that I bet tons of engineers that have used ChatGPT or earlier language models have missed. At the moment, we've got ChatGPT responding as its vanilla self, as an AI language model. But we can add more flavor to our responses by starting our request with a system message. In our messages array, before our role user message, let's add a role system message. The effect of system messages is downplayed by the docs and earlier models, but is very much hyped in the Lex interview with Sam Altman. And it has given me great results in the Emoji of the Day app, helping ChatGPT-4 impersonate the fictional characters better. So if you plan to use what we're building today for your portfolio website, maybe you'll want ChatGPT to pretend that it's you. Maybe add a system message like, "You're Brian, a charismatic software engineer with a great taste in YouTube videos. You love problem solving, puns, and ponies. Please only respond as Brian." So let's greet Fernando again, this time as Brian. See what we get. See the difference? You should tweak the system message to taste, and you may also tweak the user message. As always, I do have my code open source and free on GitHub, so you may check out what I've ended up with, but between you and me, it'd be a bit silly to copy my messages exactly. If you gotta copy and paste my whole repo, at least change those. You will come across cooler if the resulting messages feel more personal to you. That said, let's greet Alison as yours truly. Hey. And what if I greet another Johnny? I could play with this and different names and prompts forever, but I will call it now, and if you want, you can always go to the live site and knock yourself out. Speaking of the live site, wherever you deploy to, don't forget to make OpenAI API key available there as well, and also potentially in your CI step. Personally, I deploy to Vercel and always forget to add the environment variables there as well, and get a build error, but I do eventually manage to make it to the settings environment variable space and sort things out. Another thing to keep in mind is that I am deploying on the edge, which is another trendy thing to do. And like ChatGPT, it is trending for good reason. The edge is a more lightweight runtime than full node, so it is faster to run, and hosting providers like Vercel make it available in more regions for cheaper while allowing them to run for longer. This is especially important working with ChatGPT-4, so what we're doing now, as the requests do take a while to resolve, a regular serverless function may actually time out before we get a response back. Deployment on the edge is also why I didn't use the official OpenAI node library. They've still got a hard dependency on older Axios for their HTTP requests, which does not work on the edge runtime. SvelteKit injects a version of server-side fetch that does work everywhere, which is why our HTTP request works perfectly. Speaking of, those fetch requests do cost time and a little money every time they happen. To make our app more usable and less eager to burn through our tokens, we should take measures to need as few requests to OpenAI as possible. As it stands, every time we reload the page, we do a fresh request to OpenAI, which both takes ages and costs us a couple pennies. So even if we keep greeting the same person, we keep asking for a new greeting. The quickest way to band-aid this would be by adding HTTP caching to our app. We can do this by adding a cache control header, specifically in our load method in +page.server.ts, or maybe throughout our whole app with our hook file and handle method. Either way, with a cache control header set, the first time someone visits a new path, like /Maria, will be exactly the same. The OpenAI request will happen behind the scenes, take ages, cost us money, but every time after that, we'll be instantly serving the same HTML for free. However, infamously, caching validation is one of the hardest things in engineering. So even if it's tempting to cache for years, I do suggest keeping your max age low, at least until you've gotten a little feedback on your deployed app. And if your app does go viral somehow, even a 5-minute cache will make all the difference. If you're looking for a more elegant solution, it would be sweet to add a database layer to the app. I'm leaving this as homework, so I will be breezing through the code. We can still have an HTTP cache, as discussed, but we can also tweak our +page.server.ts to first query a database for whether we've already got a greeting for a given name. No matter if that database is Redis or Supabase or whatever, getting a record from a database will always be faster than the OpenAI call to create a new chat completion. If we don't get a hit from the database, only then we'll ask ChatGPT for a greeting, and we'll make sure to persist that greeting in our database before resolving our request. That way, anytime anyone requests that name again, we get our greeting faster, cheaper. Plus, this allows us to preemptively seed a few greetings for our favorite names. Check back every few days to see what type of names get requested. We could even tweak the responses right there in the database. After all, AI generation plus human curation is the fire combo at the moment. So if we got a chat regular like Ophany, they can get their AI enhanced greeting almost instantly. Woohoo! Again, I honestly believe this app's got legs. It's a great experience already with the stuff we've covered in this video. It's fun to share and still has room for you to put your own spin on it. For one last suggestion by me, if you've already got the DB sorted, maybe a random greeting button would be fun. Additionally, you can implement a feature that allows users to rate the generated greetings, providing a feedback loop. Or maybe this look into working with OpenAI got you inspired to use ChatGPT for something else entirely. please do. This is the time to go for it, and I'd love to see even more brilliant people in that space. And yes, you are brilliant. Thanks a bunch for watching. I'll see you around.